I know it's difficult to describe your music into words, but I can try. Why Serene Apocalypse?
This is vision. So now put this into music. I mean, I'm not the first one doing this, you know, like
Yeah, sure.
Sebastian Bach. But where I come in is I bring a different vision on it, because it's me, it's not Johann Sebastian Bach, and it should be different.
It is my feelings. Your music is not only a melody. It has many layers, a kind of non-linear music. It is colorful and stimulates the intellect.
That's exactly it. You're describing the thing as it is. I mean, it's art, you know. An artist, whatever art he makes, is supposed to contemplate something and put this into any form of art, his form of art, and bring it back to the people. So the artist, in the traditional way, is only the man in between what he sees, what is shown to him, because if you fix your attention on something, you're going to apprehend, you're going to get things. I don't want to say see things, because I don't see particular things. I mean, I hear things. And then you're going to have to put it back into, like for me, into music, or a piece of painter, or whatever. And so the listener should not confuse the piece of art with what it shows. And what it shows, then it's open, actually, because everybody has different experience, different lives, and so whatever sound comes to them, talking about music, then they hear something different from what the composer maybe imagined.
It is not only music to listen and enjoy, but also thinking about your visions in an unusual way. Please tell me about the way you compose.
I hear something. I have an idea. Sometimes it can be a part of a melody, a starting point, and then I either develop it in my head, like I hear it, and then okay, then I'll take an instrument. It's going to be the viola da gamba. It could be any. Sometimes I just take the guitar quickly and find the notes I hear, you know, and then that's where it starts, because I'm an instrumentalist. So I will play the piece on my instrument, and that's because I'm an improviser. At once I will hear other things that complete it, and then I'm going to start developing it. That's how music comes to me. Also, but I always had an aim, a special. The second song is starting. It could be a title, it could be a concept, it could be many things. Sometimes it's just numbers. I have, nowadays we have basically two kinds of rhythm in the music overall. You have 4/4 rhythm, it's overall, and then you have 3/4. Or 12/8, or all this. I don't want to go too much in details, but that's it. And there's a complete other part which is rather ignored in the Western world. It's all what's called unsquare rhythm. 5, 7, 11, 13, and you can invent your own, because it's always a combination of actually masculine and feminine rhythm. 2
Exactly.
or 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, pontiti, 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 pontiti. You have 7, pontiti, 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 pontiti. and so on. And that's where the music starts from a rhythm. But I don't always start from a rhythm. I also start from a note and the second note on it. Like this song is called Tombeau because yeah, it's the grave of the Western world.
Yeah.
This is the second song on the CD. It's called Tombeau. First, I spent long time to find the sound for the electric viol. There are like, I can't remember exactly, 4 or 5 sounds all together on one. And then I fitted it. I mean, there is basically a sound of the viol. I improvised it. I had this idea first, of course, and then I went on this sound with strings, like I would have an orchestra, directing an orchestra. And so it was an in between the instrument playing, chords, 2, 3 chords, changes, not really chords actually. I have a starting point, it's C minor, but each note I consider independently and they evolve separately while all together is called harmony. And then slowly evolving with the second instrument on top of it, changing here, changing there, and so on. At the end I had like this 20 minutes music and I cut it back into 3 separate pieces. It's like already the second verse. You people can see it there.
Yeah, sure.
How do you choose your instruments? They are not limited to any culture.
Maybe I should start from the discovery of the viola da gamba, like 1993, that's 25 years ago. uh, First, when I started, I had seen the instrument. I don't want to tell too much about it, but when I started this instrument after doing more than 20 years of guitar, and you know the viol is basically a guitar that you can play with a bow. That's the main thing. But also, I wasn't interested, especially in Baroque music or classical music. I was interested in my music, and all the years before, I've always been. It's also because I studied this music. I've always been looking for contact with other traditional musicians from other culture. A lot into Indian music, Persian music. You know, I played years together with Darius Shervani, our common friends, and I know and African people, North African people, Middle East people, whatever. You know, I always found out, even didgeridoo. You know, the acoustic viol works with all these traditional instruments. I played with the sitar player. Well, the sound fit, you know, and from there, then I sort of looked for all these sounds from traditional instruments, be it a frame drum, be it a sitar, being whatever, you know, and it always worked, you know, that's the sound of it. So starting from there, then I developed the idea and added other instruments. There are also all these classical instruments from the West. That's before the viol. I've always been attracted by wood instruments like oboe, bassoon, clarinet. Not so much actually. Bass clarinet, yes. but these sounds, and they work very well with viola da gamba. That's it. Also, there is the marimba which I use actually like a balafon. So, 7 years ago, I started working with this Indian tabla player, Prabir, who is really good, and we developed a project together, and it was really interesting. I mean, I wasn't into playing Indian music, I was into play improvised music, but as I base my music on the traditional harmony concept, let's say they put it this way, because I studied Middle Ages music, and before that, like you go back to the Greeks and Plato, you quickly discover that they have the same. You know, my very first CD, La Nuit et le Jour, you know, it was 97, I used the tuning. I mean, I didn't find it, you know, it's Xavier Mignon again, who, with Jean Poncet, another friend, studied Timaeus, Plato's Timaeus, and then put it back into the numbers and explained all these things. And I borrowed from a friend a so-called instrument called monochord. You have 12 strings, which are all the same, and we measure them, and you get the intervals from Plato, and you get your scale from there. And this scale is not tempered, you know, it's the natural scale. And I lived for weeks with this sound, this scale, and at the time, I had a fretless viola da gamba, so I worked on all the intervals by ear and worked on them, and that's how the CD was made. But the best is, at the end of 97, I went to India and met this singer, Gwalior singer called Keshav Yenga, and I spent 2 weeks with him, and I played him my CD, and he listened to it and said, "Oh, but that's our natural scale." Say, "Well, you play it like we play it." He said, "Oh, I was really amazed, because I never thought of doing Indian music. I played the scale." And he tells me this, I was really amazed. Okay, it works. And that's directly Plato's tuning.
Of course, I don't want to label your music, but what is open-minded music?
Well, first, I don't like having to call my music with a special definition. I have to, because what I said before, people are narrow-minded on one thing, like they will listen only to reggae or only to classical or whatever, and they ignore everything else. I'm different. I listen to everything. If it's shit, I don't listen much longer to it. Sometimes when I drive, I rarely listen to radio, but then comes a song, cut off.
Yeah.
Sometimes I spend hours, well, not hours, because very quickly I just stop. I can't, I always listen to music in an active way. That's why, again, this background music, I can't have background music. Or then it's the birds outside. Okay, that's fine, But if there is music, then I listen to it. I'm always annoyed, being with friends together, like people, they have to have some kind of background music, like, and it's really annoying,
That's true. That's true.
Because you can't concentrate on the conversation with the people. The second effect is like in a restaurant. They feel compelled with having background music. Sometimes I walk out of these places. I can't stand this. It's like having somebody flustering in your ears constantly, whatever bullshit, And I don't like it.
The music is not based on any culture.
Yeah, it's the same as like what I said before about you concentrate on, as a composer, you concentrate on something, then you put it in a form, and then you give it to the people. What they do with it, it's not of my concern anymore. Actually, I tried my best to give them that, but I try also to open their ears to other things. That's why also I rely on different instruments. It always depends on whatever song composition I'm working on. Also, sometimes it's over many days or weeks you work on one composition, and after a week you hear something different, and you think, aha, what's this? Concentrate. And then you hear suddenly something else that fits into your idea, and sometimes it can like change the thing, and you're gonna have to have it fit. And that's what I love to do. But I know that having added these new things is going to open the field I'm exposing, and the effect is on the people. You know, it's also what I didn't say before. First, the music should always be considered from its effect on the people. You know, what is it for? What are you doing? You know, most people, they cater for a business. You know, they like people like reggae. Okay, I play reggae, and that's it. And who thought about it? Especially the 4/4 rhythm that we have all around the musical landscape nowadays. It's mostly made with a computer. Like, you know, I record everything without the click. You know, the click is the metronome from the computer. Sometimes I use it, but most often I don't use it. I play, and when I add instrument, it's difficult. I know, you know, most musicians they would say, "No, we need a click." No, I don't want a click. I record it as I hear it at the moment, and then whatever I add to it, it has to fit with the first rhythm I put into it. But the whole thing makes it open-minded, because also I'm not only relying on the classical music theory, I'm relying on the traditional music theory, and the traditional music theory, it lives, and it lives everywhere over the world. That's why you're gonna sound like, world music, like they say. Although, just because I said the word world music is what you hear in McDonald's, please. You know, not because you love world music.
Bravo.
That's this annoying, exciting. You know, you hear the people with their car, and that blows your mind. That makes you stupid. People don't realize you have like millions of idiots driving around the world in their cars, listening to, you know, artificial music, which put them in a state, in the lowest state you could imagine. I'm sorry to say. That's what I'm definitely avoiding, you know. Like also, you have, you know, it's people, other musicians feel compelled to these 3-minute slots, which are supposed to be altogether the concentration lap for the people, you know. After 3 minutes, they're bored, they don't listen. Well, they're bored all the time. Turn it down. You know, what I said about serenity, this song was really intended with this idea of inducing serenity in the music and to the listener. That's my main concern about music is what is the effect it's going to have on the people, on me first, and
Yeah,
then
of
on the
course.
people who are listening, because that's art, you know. You're doing things for the people, and it's for their betterment, not to lower them. And that's traditional music. It's always uh, um, uh, fixed on a mood, a special atmosphere the artist is supposed to develop for the audience. And
Uh,
maybe two things I should add here. First, nowadays we live in a completely wrong conception of music, which is recorded music. Music should be live. You know, it's a place, it's a moment, a special moment with special people, and you make the music sound for these people in that moment. That's live. You know. That's where the music really has its best effect. Now, if you record it, you might record great things, but they're dead. You know, they're frozen. You have like recorded the closed thing, and then you put it back, and then you have to add all these things to make it as alive as possible. Okay, but this is the world we're living in. I can't change it, you know. I play for friends, I play, I do it, but then it's very limited. And nowadays, if you want to live, you have to record.
that is exactly what I wanted to say.
Either you stop or you record. So uh, the other side is I've always been into recording. Uh, when I started music as a composer, the first thing was like, yeah, you have to record it. First, you have to record it so you can have it listened by the musicians you want to play with, you know. And secondly, you need to fix it in some way. Before people used paper, now we use recorders, you know, computers.
Yeah, but
But the
the
effect, that's the main thing. That's also why I can play with other traditional musicians and fit in, because they also do that.
your music captures the attentions of different cultures.
Yes, in the sense that it's different and unusual, and I try to bring other things. If I do a cover, I can't see the point of imitating the artist who's done it before. You know, I have uh, to make it relevant as a composer or as a musician. I must add whatever to it. You know, change a little bit. Otherwise, you just play as it is, and that's it. But there's one thing I also want to add to what you just said. These differences in the conception of music in these different cultures. In the West, we used to be more in the mind and less into the rhythm. Rhythmic music has this, it's body music. It has this disadvantage. It goes from the bottom and stays there. And very rarely it develops into, let's say, I say, higher states of thought. Except in some very refined Indian music, where, but if you listen to it, you have like the tabla player, he's constantly changing. It's not changing. It's not staying on one like we have nowadays. And that's
Yeah.
it. You know, he's gonna change. He's gonna develop things. He's gonna add things to it, and that's what music is. If you repeat the same rhythm for 5 minutes, yeah, you're gonna slowly get hypnotized, and at the end you're stupid, like the millions all around us. That's the problem with only rhythmic music. But it has also a good side of it. That's why I don't want to refuse any rhythm. On the contrary, I put it back together with everything. And so I sort of mixed the two, you know, the top like the ideas with no forms, I mean, when you hear them, it starts already being a form. You know, you hear something, it has a form. Whatever comes to manifestation, it comes first with a form. You know, so. But anyway, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Like the spirit and then the body, the bottom. You know? Never
Yeah.
forget, the body is the bottom. The emotions, that's the bottom, that's the lowest side. Serenity is on the complete opposite side. It's how people should always be. It's the frame of mind where you're, nothing can hurt you. You're open to whatever comes and you see it like it is, and that's it. There's no problem. If you're stuck in your feelings and uh, your body feelings, then you're gonna have like tension because of the muscle, because of the material. It's my idea was okay. It's part of this one song I did with what I said before. You know, the instrument like the melody and these uh, notes on the strings. I had Fukushima in mind. You know, these images we saw from the water like recessing back and then leaving all this shit all around, like coming up and down, and then you see like bits of destructive things flowing apart. And then you also have nowadays you have these horrible thing that happen in the Middle East, like Syria, you know, and where, of course, children, not only children, but the people, they get overwhelmed with this, how can I put it, the irresistible weight of the industrial Western world with its bombs and machinery which destroys everything. You know, and that was my first idea. And you have the people under there, and they have to hide somewhere, and they all die, and it's a really an awful thing. And we are confronted with this. I mean, I'm European. I'm really ashamed, you know.
Yeah, I
But the French
understand.
are also bombing, you know, and the Germans and the Americans, and you know what for, you know, and not for us, you know, and we have to support that. What can I do? What can I do against this? Nothing much, but I can put it into music so the people might realize, aha, this is awful what is being done in our name. And
Mm.
again, I mean, what can we do? You know, it's not by voting that we're going to change things. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, yes, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
this
true.
happened in France with this bullshit, you know, that people don't vote for a candidate, vote against. And what's left? Yeah, nothing is left. The same as before, worse. Uh, yeah. So that's the song now, Middle East Children.
Without its children, yes. Is that a philosophical way of creating music, or affected by political situation, the whole world?
difficult question. uh, because you have to consider what's happening musically in the world, you know. The problem is our vision, our hearing is blurred through the medias. You know, in the mainstream media, they only uh, diffuse the same music, which is made for narrow-minded people, and to narrow-minded them, mind them even more. So where do you find something else? You know, you won't find it in so-called independent rock. Sorry, you ideally music people should do their music themselves and not use the term for tuning. I should say.
Yeah.
And then they have the music having its effect on them and on the people around them as it is really, and not as imposed by the oligarchy.
Your music opens the new doors and windows to the listener, but not for everybody.
No, because they don't. You know, the overall majority of the people, they're happy living in their Stockholm syndrome, and they don't even think there could be something else. So it's only by surprise that suddenly they will hear something different and might be attracted to it. Might. Because most of the time they don't hear anymore. They're just stuck in their apathy.
And what about the Fukushima?
Fukushima, because of the chimera, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual Fukushima is more like after the first third of the song. The beginning is I had done many. I didn't put them on the CD because there was too many and it was too small. It was like jingles, because in the Apocalypse you have these trumpets and the first angel sounds this and the second this, and so how does it sound, you know? And I thought, yeah, no, I'm not gonna try to imitate the trumpets. I mean, Bach has done it, you know, many other composers have done it. Okay, let's have them. You know, I don't need to try to do it again. But I had, and this is what I heard. You know, I had this. Somehow I had that in my ear, and I tried to find it on an instrument. It's a trumpet, you know. And that was the sound I was hearing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is my trumpet. So the song is beginning, just play the beginning with the trumpet, and then I go to the more Fukushima part. Let me put the volume. Right, saying, hey, people, listen. I'm talking to the Church of Laodicea. You
Yeah.
are lukewarm. I will vomit you.
Yeah.
Because I tried to sound like a koto, you know, this Japanese instrument. Okay, it's a 7 minutes long song.
Okay. Very unusual question. Do you dance?
I dance very often. When I listen to my music, I'm like walking around, you know. when I mix, you know, because there is this, it's again what I said before. Normally, music is played and finished. That's it. So in the moment you play, you need all the concentration on whatever you play, and have it as much as possible in it. Now, when you record things and develop things over time, you have to put yourself back into the feeling, the first feeling. So all these songs, I mean, I spent like months listening to them and living in them. And yeah, I stand up and I walk around and I follow the music, and that's where I most of the time hear new things, or like, I do the mixing, so this instrument is too loud, this one should be louder, and all this balance of sounds. So yes, I dance very often.
Okay, but do you dance with the other music, for instance, salsa or samba or any other?
No, no.
Okay.
I like every now and then. I played in a band playing salsa. I think 4 years. We did like concerts in Bavaria. It was like funny because they were also South American musicians with it, and it was really interesting. It was really for me interesting because I was playing bass, and I had to change my uh, approach to the bass, the instrument. Before, I was used to play like more like rock context or reggae concept. Like the reggae, you play sort of after the music, and in the salsa and the South American music, you play before. It's very different
Ah,
feeling. Like you have the impression you pull the music with yourself before, in advance, always before, and instead of the reggae where you have to take it, and you have the reggae bass. It's afterwards, but both they have the same. You have, the bass player has to cater for the bottom. Uh, it's a middle instrument between drums. Bass is a drum.
yes,
Except
yes,
that
yes.
two notes with it. Uh, the good thing with salsa is most of the time the percussionists they do tune their drums. You know, because that's a very important part of music. In rock music, very rarely the drummer tunes his drum to the music he's playing. It's like an overall tuning, and that's it. He plays the same everywhere. In salsa, you have this special tuning for the bongo, the congas. It's very precise, and your bass is between these percussion and the other instruments like the piano, the horns, and the singing, whatever. And so yeah, I had to, as a bass player, it started in England. I mean, I learned double bass in conservatory when I was young, but in England, it was really difficult for me to find a job as a guitar player because most of the time the boss is the guitar player, so they don't like another guitar player who plays better. So I had always problems. And I remember this rock band I toured with from England in Bretagne, in France, in there, while I'm talking German, in Bretagne. It was really funny because I was replacing the guitar player. He asked me because he couldn't do this tour, so I jumped in. I was like a kind of U2 thing. I was playing, and everybody was saying, "Wow, wow, he's amazing," blah blah blah. And some people said he's better than you are. So okay, I did 3 tours with him, and then yeah, he came back. Okay, I had to leave. But otherwise, as a guitar player, they don't like you. So, but they were, I don't know now because I'm out of this system. But it was very difficult to find a good bass player. I also had the problem for my music.
Hmm.
Where's the bass player? Oh shit, he's out of time, out of tune, he's not playing what he should play, whatever. So it's really difficult to find a good bass player. I mean, I'm a good bass player, so I found job as a bass player, and so I toured with this bands and this singer, and it was really a good experience because over a year I played on big stage, big festivals for yeah, millions of people actually, like in Paris, in Vincennes. And it's amazing. I remember this concert we played in Nyon Festival. It's in Switzerland. It's on the shore of the Geneva Lake. And for the sound check, when I went onto the stage, I had this bass amplifier, twice as big as me, so I plug in, boom. Oh, I was shocked, because the sound, I got the echo back from the mountain on the other side of the lake. It was like, oh shit, that's power, it's that's one of the first time I realized, oh shit, I don't want to go on with this,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're the bass player, you're directly playing into the bodies, into the belly of the people, and you'll bring them down, and with such a power, of course it's the volume, but it's not only that, it's the frequency, we're at the bottom, but it's so powerful. So I could experience that. Okay, there's still to it the bass line, which develops, well, I develop it. Sometimes they didn't like it, they say, no, you shouldn't play this, no, you play too many notes, oh shit. The good musician used to say, oh, it's wonderful what you play on your bass, but the singer, he wouldn't like it because he couldn't relate to it. He was used to the boom, 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 boom. You have to stick to it. But you could do the boom, 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 and add a few things in between because it's music, it's live, it's in one moment.
That's true.
The good musicians, they understand it. The bad musicians, we have loads of bad musicians all around. They don't understand it. They're like, this, whatever.
Please tell me who you are. Are you an Englishman, a Frenchman, a German?
Yeah, I understand. Well, I'm French, I'm from Lorraine, but I've moved a lot. So, my father was in the army, and he didn't have much choice. He was 17. Well, he was 15 when the Second World War started. At the end, he was put in jail because of some resistance story, and then he ended the war with he was 18 or something, 17 or 18. School, no education, nothing. The only thing he had left was join the army. So he went to the army and was sent to Indochina, Vietnam. He was lucky enough to be wounded earlier so that he didn't do the disaster Dien Bien Phu at the end. But then he was like an instructor. My father was really good at mechanics. So he could repair a tank, cancer, he could put it out and back in 2 days or something. So we, the children, we just followed, so he was sent to Cameroon. My sister was born in, it's called Senegal now, but I was born in Nancy, and then we went in different parts of France. In Africa, in Cameroon, I spent 3 years. We were a bit in Germany, actually. And then I did my study, conservatory music, and in 83, 84, I was like, I had come to the end of what was possible in France, in Nancy, in this small province city. That's the problem with France, it's called Parisianism. You have to go to Paris. And I do like Paris every now and then, but I lived 6 months in Paris. No way, it's a nightmare. And I had this opportunity to go to London, so I went to London. And I spent 9 years there. It was the best move I could do. But then after 9 years in England, especially after this time where I played the bass, and I was more like into this music business thing, where I realized it's shit, I don't want to be part of this. So I was trying to find something else, and it just happened. I went to Germany, and I was lucky, I found this film music contract, and I thought, okay, Germany should be better. So I moved from London to Munich, Yeah, and I never regretted it. I'm quite happy in Bavaria. I like Bavarian people. Uh, I know the people quite well. I also have the luck to live in a small village. I'm not in a city. I hate cities, you know. Paris, London, uh, New Delhi a bit, and then Munich, that's it. I've had enough. I can't stand this weight, this psychic weight of the people around me. Now I have to be outside in nature. So I live in a village. The people are really nice. I'm quite happy. So yes, it's Bavaria. Of course, I'd rather have this house in the south of France because of the heating. But then again, you know what can you do? I'm here. I have a daughter. I'm a single father. She's doing her study. I can't break it for her now. Where should I go? You know, so I'm quite happy here. So yeah, I'm French and living in Bavaria. Okay. I understand that's also what I said before. I didn't go into it, but it's because of my family moving from place to place all the time. I had the luck of not being stuck in one group of people. You know, like you have at school. You know, you're in a group, and then you grow up with the same people. You go to the classes in school, always with the same people, and then you make friends, and then you end up with 40 and you have like friends you had since you were 7 or so, you know. I don't have this, you know. My friends, they're now, you know,
Yeah,
for the last 20, 30 years. I mean, I still have friends from when I was in Nancy, you know, before. I still have contact with them. But actually, I wasn't put into this, how do you call it in French, say, embrigadement. You know, it's like, you know, it's like the scouts, you know.
yeah.
Like you're in a group and you have to stick with this group. There's also the music going with it, you know. It's like the people who are into rock music, they're like only in a group of rock music, or like Gothic, they're only in that group.
Some people call your music kind of spiritual music. Is that right?
I've noticed, you know, like the Facebook friends I have, Facebook friends,
Fans?
who boast themselves as atheists, they don't go on my page because of the word apocalypse. You know, it's like, shut. uh, that's also the thing I studied with tradition, without an S. It's the spirit, but it's not human. Uh, the Indian, they call it. What's the origin of the spirit? They say if they have a word, it's Apaoroshaya. That means it's not human. So what do we do with this? And that's again, that is what the spirit is. That's very difficult to explain, to understand nowadays. Yes.
This music, for example, when I listen to that, I can't put it in any culture.
Can you see this?
Yeah, sure.
That's the score. That's a Gregorian piece. You know, Saint Grégoire le Grand.
Yeah.
It's 800 AC. That's a very interesting piece. I mean, I've known it for a very long time, and it was the occasion for this composition to do something with this song. But you know, the Gregorian tradition gives the, how should I say, brings you back to the Greeks. You know, Plato. You know, the writers you have in the Gregorian tradition, they all, you know, Quintilius, Boëthius, these people, they write, yeah, look in Plato, Timaeus, you know, another, yeah, I know Timaeus. If you know it already, it's very good, because, and then they go on explaining, giving some rules about composition, giving the effects of the modes. That's very important. That's what's forgotten today, you know. And this song, Goed Creant Laxi, I mean, people can go to my page, the page, the special page I made on my site. I explain this more about this composition. It's Gregorian music, but the melody goes back in 400 years before Christ. It's a Greek melody. So, and especially in this arrangement, I mean, the first song in the CD is the melody just played as it is on paper, as I see it, and improvise. On this one, I sort of tried to connect to a Greek kind of environment, as I feel it. You know. I don't pretend I'm not Greek, you know. I've never been in Greece, and who can go in Greece at the time of Plato, please? But the interesting thing is that this knowledge that's in this song is the same as what the Greeks had. And this mode is the Dorian mode for nowadays, because in Plato, in Timaeus, he explained he says it's Dorian mode, but actually transposed to our vocabulary today, it's the Phrygian mode, the third from C. So that's their starting point for the Greeks. This one is in Dorian mode. It brings it's considered as the best for everybody, because it gives this serenity, and this special song concentrate on the humility aspect of the music. And that's very interesting, because very rarely today, you know, people do music in a humility way, you know. What's that? You know. So because it's all about boosting one's ego, so that's completely opposite. It's like, the text says it, you know, I'm not worthy of playing this music, you know, I should shut my mouth, basically.
So it's better I call your music a kind of philosophical music.
Yeah, but that's also, I mean, your question, I mean, you haven't said it, but it's, you're saying, or people saying my music is spiritual. I have a problem there, because what is spirit? You know, where do we put things? Because this Western civilization forces us to go into this rational conception of things. But okay, it's the tradition, and it's the tradition everywhere, from China to the Greek to the Native Americans. You know, you have the Native Americans, you know, there is the spirit. They say it, you know, and they say everything is connected. The thing is, when you can't really understand what's in one tradition like yours, and like in the Apocalypse, what do we mean? What does he mean? You know, then you can look in other culture and traditions, and you will find much more explanation. Like for me, the Indian Puranas, they tell a lot more in details about what the present times are.
Yeah, it's true.
On the other hand, you know, you have the Native Americans, who they say, yeah, it's the spirit, it makes it all in the world, and everything is connected. So that's what we are, and that's what we should be conscious of, being, and that's also what I put into my music. So that's how I understand my music as being spiritual.
Yeah, but you are not planning to put those kind of things. You feel it and you create it. That's all.
Yeah, of course, and that's also what I said before of the artist being a middle, a mean between the spirit and this world. Looking at things in the spirit, you contemplating things, and you put them into an art form, and you give it back to the people. This is the traditional definition of art, you know. That's it. So you do it as best as you can, and you have to be humble. That's the song. It's not me, it's the spirit. I know it sounds like for today's thinking it's shit, but I uh, I understand. That's the spirit, you know. The spirit is one. So you have the same in Vietnam as you had it in America.
Exactly.
You have to connect with it. I try to connect with it all the time and bring it into my music. That's also where everybody should center their mind and attention, because from there it goes all around in the world, and not concentrate on the bad things. Of course, there is war, there's destruction, there's death and killing, but okay, that's the way it is. It's also what you learn with metaphysics. There's no bad and there's no good. There's just altogether harmony, and the perfection is also made of bad and good things.
Indeed, it is.
So you have to be serene to contemplate all this and not being drawn into it, but to live and survive and have your life. It's a serenity that it's not a feeling anymore, it's over feelings. Once you start going into the feelings and emotion, then you're in this world, you know. And that's so the top will be joy. So you will be moving between serenity and joy. Sometimes you will be down, a bit down, but the lowest, that's the apathy. And the apathy, that's 90% of the world population today. You know, I can't do this. Oh, this is impossible. You know, you hear them. Yeah, like the typical apathetic word in the morning is, before I've had a coffee, I can't do anything. Bullshit, you know. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You know, why do you have to give yourself so many limits? You know. So yeah, you have to live in serenity, and if you're not in this mood, in this top emotions, put it this way, then do as if you were in it, you know, as it is.
Yeah, I got it. I got what you
Because
mean.
doing this, then slowly you're going to be into this, and maybe listening to serene music will help you.
Is there any rhythm in silence?
Of course. Silence, that's the spirit, you know. The Native Americans, again, you know, it's the best prayer is in silence, you know, silence. And that's everywhere in every tradition. It's like, first, be silent. I remember when I was into jazz, I had this Anthony Braxton album, and there is a song, a friend of mine, a very good pianist, what's his name, Jean-Michel Albertucci, maybe here, he's still playing piano. We did a trio, duo also at the time. I was into jazz and improvisation, but he told me, listen to this song. At the end, there are like 5 seconds silence. What? You know? And so I went listening to the song, and indeed, at the end of the song, because of everything the musician has created before, it finishes, but then after, there's like 4 or 5 seconds silence, and you hear it. You know, you will say, there is 5 seconds silence at the end of this song. And I remember at the time I was like really blown away, like, it's possible, you can have music in, you know, silence in music, and it works and you hear it. It's also the breaks in between ideas in a song. Of course, I try to bring silence in between two parts. There are many examples in the CD. You've noticed, going from one part into the other, there's probably stop, and then it's only the reverberation will carry on, and the previous sound that just dies and develops into the next. Because in music, yeah, it's difficult to put silence.
Yeah, of course.
But it's the origin of music, you have to go to the contrary. Before music, before sound, is no sound. What is no sound is silence. So that's where the first music is. And then you need somebody like me, an artist that hears and puts it into sounds. This song, it's à la Clairefontaine. This is a French song. Yeah, by the way, it's these two pieces, Outcroyant-Laxis and À la Clairefontaine, I just went on recording them, improvising. I did 15 minutes of each, and then I thought, oh shit, I played so long. I just went improvising and developed until I felt like it was finished. And so this song I cut in 3 parts because of the dramaturgy in the CD, to bring some breathing voice in the whole concept. But I haven't done it yet, but I put the complete version on a separate CD to download on my Bandcamp site, because I find it's really interesting from the music's point of view, because I try to improvise as I am. I mean, I'm a French musician improvising on a mode, a special scale, and that's it. And I stay in the mode, and that's being modal, and not bringing any cliche from any style of whatever Baroque or jazz or whatever other music, but just being yourself and playing the thing. Funny enough, in this part, because of the song, it's very basic. You have like 5 notes. Yeah, there's a 6 note. I did the 7th. In modern music, you have you have all this in Indian tradition and music books. You can study this. Then you have to adapt it to whatever Western mode you're using. But you have the same in plateau. You have every step in a mode has a special function in the music. It's like in Outcroyant-Laxis, it moves between the third, the minor third, and the second, the major second. And it does an interesting thing. It goes to this minor third, which says, "Please come down to me," sort of, and then, "But I'm so humble," is the second. And it has really, when you play it, you hear it, and then you try. That's what I do. Then I try to play more with this and play with this emotion of being humble. On this one, it's different. It's like à la Clairefontaine. Okay, in the verses of the song, it's about lost love, but it's also, the basic song is like, when I went to this source of water, I felt so good, and the water looked so clear, à la Clairefontaine, and I wanted to bathe in it. That's the idea. And what is this fontaine? what is this? Water. Yeah, that's the spirit. And you just dive in it and you play. And it just happened. I found myself like having this sort of bourrée thing, you know. But okay, I let it happen. Okay, this is maybe the only style effect I put into it. It's not much an accident. It's in the music already.
You improvised, right?
Yes, yes. I improvise yeah, but that's music. I've always improvised. You know, I started with improvising. My mother bought this piano. She took lesson. My brother took lesson. My sister took lesson, and they were fighting this note. And then I threw the piano. I had already started guitar and piano. I went and played.
You,
And at once I improvised and then started composing things. You know, composing was I liked what I was improvising and I tried to repeat it. And that was my first composition. And then I went on and on. And since then I've always been doing the same. I mean, I let a note sound and I hear the rest, and I develop it and I put it more. And then you have you learn your say science. You know, you learn how to develop an idea, and so that it won't be boring. You know, not like pop music where you have one idea, 4 seconds, stop. Not more, because people can't concentrate anymore. You know. So no, I'm developing things. That's improvising.
actually, your music give me many picture, visualize the melody I'm listening.
That's also, again, that's the spirit. The spirit makes you live things in the moment where you do things. And whatever your vocation, because it's all about vocation, you know, you're meant to do something in this world. And this is what you should do, and not any kind of job. Okay, you have to do some job, other job, because it's the world, it's the system as it is. But then you have a vocation, everybody has a vocation, and this vocation he should practice and do all the time, or as much as possible, because that's the reason he's in this world, and you should do what you're here for. So if you're a musician, then you do music the best you can. If you're a photographer, then you put it as much as you can into it, whatever work you do. Everybody is an artist, you know. An artist is somebody who does the thing properly for the people to use. Doing the things properly is never lose this connection. An architect, he will build a house.
Yeah, but the,
Depending on various things like, you know, I like this from the Japanese culture, an architect, and the Chinese as well, has to be a year long on the place where he's going to build the house, before he builds the house, you know? Because then you can see where does the sun come out, how it goes over the seasons, and so he will build his house depending on the sun and other things. And he will have lived a year long on the place, so he will know what the place has to offer.
how about to make a living as a musician?
Yeah. And there is a complete misconception of the work of a musician. You know, it's the people have a blurred understanding of what it really is. You know, it's like you need a bank. A bank will be a record company. It will invest money on you, and it will want its money back. So, I mean, I have like I can say his name, Rüdiger, you know, he's the percussionist playing on some of my songs. He's playing with a very famous band at the moment, it's Phone. They're doing like pagan folk, they call it. Very good music, I mean, I do like it, but it's not music I would listen every day. But now they got a golden record, you know, and suddenly, after 10 years of working like mad and really eating like for nothing, they made it sort of because of a hard work, you know. And now he comes, yeah, I'm rich, ha ha ha. I'm like more in debt than before because this system is so shit. You know, you earn if you earn too much money, if you're not one of these billionaires on top, you know, and then you can avoid any tax. You know, that's if you're under, you know, and that's everybody is saying. Whatever the level you are with your finance, you have to pay tax. And the more you earn, the more tax you have to pay. I decided long ago I pay as little tax as I can. Means I earn as much as I need. The problem is it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So most of the time I have too little. So I'm in debt. Yes, of course. That's the system. So I have to find a way of selling my music myself because no bank is going to invest on my music. You know, I've tried 30 years long to interest a label, no interest because they are not interested in the music. They're interested in something that sells or can be sellable. But before it is sellable for them, you have to already sell them. So it means I could possibly get the attention of some label, but then I should already be selling. You know, it's like a catch-22.
Or maybe
You've got to get out. So, no, I'm not rich. You know, to go back to your question, I live from the music I sell. And nowadays, it's the problem, it's also in the Apocalypse, it's in the Puranas. You know, the Indians, they have this caste system. It's wrongly understood nowadays because it's not about your social position, it's about your vocation, it's about your nature. That's what is called, that's what is meant by caste. It's varna, it's the color, it's your nature. You're meant to be a leader, you're meant to be a warrior, you're meant to be a musician, you're meant to be a shoemaker, whatever you're meant to be, this you should do and do as good as possible. Okay, then you're going to be put into a caste system. So this has never been hereditary. This is the mistake nowadays in India. You know, you were born in a Brahmin family, then you're a Brahmin. No way, you're a Brahmin only if you have the vocation. But okay, let's forget this. That's the thing is still there. So now, before you had like an artist doing his art and finding a mécène who would give him money so that he can practice his art. You still have this, but very limited. So nowadays, everybody is concerned. It's concerned everybody. You have to be a Brahmin, so you have to concern yourself with spiritual things. You have to be a Kshatriya because you have to fight for your thing. You have to be a Vaishya because you have to sell your thing, and you have to be a Shudra because you have to construct the thing and put the material. And that's the basic four castes of the origin. But that's, we all have, you know, I have to be musician, composer, instrumentalist, producer, recorder, sound engineer, then marketing expert, then graphic designer, you know, then office worker, like writing things, declaring things for tax and copyright society, you know, and all this I have to do myself. And then apart from that, I still have to cook for my daughter when she comes back from school. I have to earn enough money to pay this house. I mean, not pay the house, but pay the rent because I'm renting. I don't own this house. I'm lucky, but I have to pay the rent, I have to pay the heating in Germany, you know, you have very often -20. It costs money, so I'm constantly juggling between all these positions, but I don't complain, it's what everybody has to do. But you have to know it, you have to know that, okay, you have to do it.
but you have many choices in Germany.
It's all a question of connection. To make connection, you have to live in a certain group of people, you know, and because I have all these different activities, And in the past, I mean, most of the time, I mean, I remember in England, but also when we toured in France, the singer, he was in a big record company, so I met all these people, you know, I know these people, I know the kind of people they are, you know, but I don't want to live with these people, you know. It's very difficult to meet these people, then to get friends with them, and then to get acquainted with them, and to work with them. And that's the problem with connection. You need to be in a milieu and develop from there. The other side is I'm much too open-minded for the overall television thing. I mean, I can write music. I did it a few times. I'd love to do more. The problem is, how do you get in contact with them? You know, it doesn't happen like this because people don't listen. They don't have time. They have to work. Like the film producer, he has to see that the millions is grabbed from everywhere, come back so that he can survive and pay 100 people for the production of the film. So he has to have some kind of film that sells. And the problem is to sell millions, you have to appeal to millions. And the problem is there, the millions, most of the time, they are stupid.
But that is my point.
Stupid thing.
But your music is not commercial type.
I can tell you what I'm thinking about this, you know. I'd love to do all these things. I can. That's not the question, you know. It's the thing is I must now, because of the system, I must make my name known and have people who like my music sharing it everywhere so that my name goes around and people know what I am doing. And because there are also artists in the cinema field, you know, there are people doing really good things. I mean, like Mel Gibson, Mel Gibson does really beautiful cinema.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And with an interesting point, he's not doing shit like most of the French production, I'm just saying, or whatever, you know. It's also, I thought in Germany, being in Munich, I would get into this business. I tried, but I did these 2 films on television. Was good. It was good money. I still have a very good contact with a film, director. He still buys my music. Hi, Peter. But and the problem is he doesn't get any budget for a film, an interesting film. So he does whatever else he can do, documentary films, whatever, you know. And but I have to carry on doing my own thing, making as many things as possible, because at some point there's going to come whoever. I mean, I said Mel Gibson, could be any other film director who will have ears and understanding and will think, oh, that's what I want.
Of course, it is a matter of choice.
You know, there are some examples of really good television series made by intelligent people. Okay, it's in the past, but it is possible. You know?
Of course.
And using very good music, very good artists all together, and they made it. You know, and that's the people I'm trying to find. But to find these people, I have to be as good as I can in the level I am in, and not escape and try another thing. I mean, I did over the years, every time and time again, I tried to do associations with other people, other musicians or theater, and you work your ass out, and then suddenly these people drop you because they have something else. They want to do something with other people or whatever. Yeah, as I said, I'm not as rich as I should be. Like I have this dream. I mean, I'd like to have the par-dessus, the small viol. Is supposed to build me a baritone, the electric baritone de la gamba. I have to pay 6,000 euros for it. It's not expensive actually, but it is 6,000. So I have a baritone. Look at what a baritone viol is. The idea is an electric baritone viol. So with what should I pay this, you know? And the thing is, I mean, one CD costs 12 euros. This one I'm going to sell 14. It's not the work, you know. The problem is, that's what I saw with my daughter yesterday. She was listening to music on her computer. I said, what do you use for streaming platforms? She said, yeah, Spotify. Spotify. I said, yeah, it's my death. And she laughed and said, yes, you know, you listen to music, you don't pay, it's free. Yes, but think of the artists, you know, what do they live from? Not from Spotify. Spotify doesn't give you any money, you know. They collect the money wherever they can and keep it for themselves and give a few piece of leftover to some company that will possibly give another little bit to the artist. So with streaming, unless you already sell millions, you don't get any money. So all the artists, you know, they're just there, yes, it is my music. And the frame of mind nowadays is really shit because they think, music is free. It's true, it's free, it's all available on the internet. So why should I pay? Yeah, well, if you don't pay for it, you're going to have always more shit music because people want to sell, and to sell you have to do shit.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So it's the choice you have to do. So I don't want to do shit music. I want to do proper music. I want to live for it.
But you teach also, right?
Yeah, I'm teaching music. I have mostly children, very few adults. I have teenagers. But those I have, they stay over the years, and I can see what my effect is on them. I mean, they get much better than in any school, because I know better than most of the schools do. And then after they can, I mean, I have a guitar player, she's really good. If she carries on, she's going to be really good guitar player. So yeah, I don't have enough. Also, I don't want to spend my time teaching, but I find it's a duty as a musician. You have to teach what you know to others.
Yeah, in the school they have a deaf teachers, but then they learn from an artist, a composer. It's completely different.
It shouldn't be an idol, because the whole system is based on people idolizing others. You should have people with knowledge and learn from them, and find other people with other knowledge and learn from them, and that's the way it should go, not selling shit. It is with Querent like this, it is the epilogue, it is the broken consort version. This part, because I used the flageolet tones of the violin. I love this. Now when I listen to my music, I just say sitting.
No, it's just... Yeah, as I told you, your music is...
Yeah, it's not background music.
No.
It draws too much our attention. But that's good, that's what you should expect from music, isn't it?